السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاكم الله خير. Inshallah, today's talk will be about the coming of the Dajjal, inshallah. It's been a topic that's been very relevant in news, and mainstream news, in fact, actually. So it would be good if us Muslims have more knowledge about it, inshallah. Inshallah, it's very beneficial. Inshallah, the Shaykh who's going to give it is a Shaykh who's has good experience in Islamic knowledge. He's studied in Egypt at Al-Azhar, and he's also given a number of talks here in the UK, alhamdulillah. He's a prominent community leader in West London. So without further ado, please welcome Ustadh Junaid.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
ما شاء الله. It feels so strange to be back in a university setting. It's been such a long time. I feel like, subhanAllah, everything has come back to me. I actually used to study just down the road in UCL. Not anything medicine related, complete opposite, studying bricks and concrete, civil engineering. But that was a good 10-15 years ago, subhanAllah. Alright, good. The topic that I have been asked to speak about is the topic of the Dajjal. Now, the topic of the Dajjal is one, that gathers people. People like to hear about this topic. Hence, they produced a series on Netflix because they know that as Muslims, that's the one topic that we're gonna pay attention to. There are one or two other topics as well that, if you make mention of them, Muslims will turn up to a talk. Who can tell me another topic that people turn up to?
Marriage.
Who said that? He said it, right? So yeah, marriage is another one where you will get a lot of people, and another third one, which is another very popular topic that people, is very connected to our subject today, but it can still do an independent talk. What is it? Huh? Their judgment. What else? Huh? Yeah, magic and jinn. Whenever you talk about jinn, then you also get a huge group of people coming. So anyway, let's get back to our topic. Now, the topic of the Dajjal is a very serious topic, and it's so serious that the Prophet ﷺ, he spoke about it in detail, at length. There are a number of different events that will take place at the end of time. Some of these events the Prophet ﷺ has spoken about in great depth, and some of them are there's actually no information whatsoever. So we know from the 10 major signs of the Day of Judgment, 10 major signs, 3 of them are the 3 earthquakes, one in the east, one in the west, and one in the Arabian Peninsula. And there is no information about them whatsoever after that. And that's it, that's done. You've got 3 out of the 10 signs in like 1 minute. But other signs, like the coming of the Dajjal, which is one of the first of the 10 major signs, there is a lot of discussion on it. And there is lots of controversy as well. So I'm going to try to keep it mainstream, so we don't have time to go into other matters. Who can tell me the last minor sign? Out of the minor signs, what's the last one before the major signs kick in? And I'll give you a clue. The first major sign is the Dajjal. So think of the events that happened prior to the coming of the Dajjal. By the way, just for those who don't know me, there's a few people who do know me. Whenever I give a lecture, I don't just talk and you listen. That's boring. I talk a little bit and then I check if you learned something or you're listening. So I'm going to be asking you lots of questions. So, what is the last minor sign before the beginning of the major signs?
Mahdi.
Very good, the Mahdi. Okay, so the Mahdi will come, and we know that that's the last of the minor signs, and then you will have the Dajjal, who will come. طيب. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لا يخرج الدجال حتى يذهل الناس عن ذكره. That the Prophet ﷺ said that the Dajjal will not come until there will come a point in time where people will forget about him. that people will not talk about him, or people will not know much about him. Okay, there will come a time people will be heedless, and they'll be doing whatever they're doing in the world, and they will not have enough knowledge or understanding of the Dajjal, and that's the time in which he will appear. Now, we've also seen this series on Netflix, where it's called The Masih, okay? And this has caused some confusion. What's one of the primary roles of the Dajjal? What is he actually going to do when he comes? He's going to cause what? He's going to cause confusion. And he's going to cause confusion between what? He's going to claim at first that he's known as the Masih al-Dajjal. And who else is known as Al-Masih? Isa bin Maryam. So he's going to confuse you. Is he the Dajjal, or is he actually Isa alayhi salam? And how many people, when they watched that program, they came to the conclusion that that character was actually the Dajjal, was actually Jesus? A lot of people walked away confused, didn't they? So the producers of that program, they understood very well the Islamic texts and what's happening. So their objective in that was to confuse the people. And that's very much so is what the Dajjal is going to do. If you have confusion in your faith, what does confusion tend to lead to? What's the end result of confusion if you don't rectify your confusion? To disbelief, to kufr. Because when you're confused, then other things, smaller things can come up and you can be very easily led astray. And that is the exact trick of the Dajjal. He's going to come, cause confusion, then he's going to do what looks like miracles, and people will follow him. The vast majority of people will follow the Dajjal, and that's very, very scary. Okay. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Ma bayna khalqi Adam ila qiyam sa'a khalqan akbar min al-Dajjal." The Prophet ﷺ said, from all of the creations of Allah, there is nothing that's going to cause a bigger fitna, or a bigger trial, or a bigger tribulation than the coming of the Dajjal. There will be no bigger test that people have faced than the coming of the Dajjal. The matter was so serious that the Prophet ﷺ, when he used to pray, and all of us we do the same, when we pray and we tashahhud, we commonly make dua and we seek protection from Allah. From who? From the Dajjal. What do we say? Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhabi jahannam wa min adhabi al-qabr wa min adhabi fitnat al-mahya wa mamat. And what's the last one? Min sharri fitnat al-masih al-Dajjal. So whenever we in tashahhud, every single time we pray, I mean it's not a compulsory part of the prayer, but it's something the Prophet used to read. He used to read that dua inside the prayer. Now if the coming of the Dajjal was a matter which was ikhtilaf, or a matter which is, it's not that important, or it's not so serious, why would the Prophet ﷺ in every one of his prayers in the tashahhud read that dua if it wasn't important? So it shows us that it's very, very serious. It's not entertainment. It's very, very serious, and we need to understand who and what he is all about. Furthermore, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Ma bu'itha an-nabi illa andara ummatahu an al-a'war al-kadhdhab." That every single prophet that came to the people and preached to the people, he warned them about the coming of the Dajjal. Every prophet that came warned them about the coming of the Dajjal. Once again showing us the severity of the situation. Another very important point for those who are making notes, that the Dajjal is not mentioned inside the Quran. But where is he mentioned? Inside the Sunnah. And we know that the Quran and Sunnah are inseparable. You cannot just have the Quran by itself. It doesn't make any sense. And you cannot have the Sunnah by itself. It wouldn't make any sense. They both come together. The Sunnah explains the Quran. I'll give you an example of that. Allah says in the Quran, "Aqimu as-salah wa atu az-zakat." Establish the prayer and give the zakat. Commonly you find that in the Quran. I ask you, tell me one place in the Quran where Allah tells us we have to pray 5 times a day. Tell me one place in the Quran where Allah says you have to do Fatiha in the prayer. Tell me one place in the Quran Allah tells you that Fajr starts at this time and finishes at this time. Nowhere. Furthermore, the zakat. Allah says you have to give zakat. You have to give zakat. How much? What's the percentage? On what? On gold, on silver, on sheep, on camel. None of the information is inside the Quran. Where is it? It's in the Sunnah. So you cannot separate these two. By separating these two, effectively you've disbelieved in the two, because it wouldn't make any sense. Because how would you then aqam as-salah, establish the prayer, if you don't know how to do it? Which would mean you won't do it. So these come together. The mentioning of the Dajjal is all in the Sunnah. And these hadith, the statements of the Prophet ﷺ, we know that a statement has a chain of narrations, and there are men that narrate from men, and it goes all the way back to, when I say men, that includes women as well, going all the way back to the Prophet ﷺ. And there are hadith which are known as ahad, which means that there's only one chain or two chains or three chains. There's not many chains, but we accept them. But then there's another group of hadith, they're called mutawatir. Mutawatir means so many people spoke about this issue that it's impossible for it to be a lie. So for example, if right now, I check my Facebook and it says there's been, Allah protect all of us, but I'll just give an example. There's been a fire in central London. Then you turn on the news, and on another news it says there's been a fire in central London. And then somebody walks in through the door and says there's been a fire in central London. Like 15 different people or sources say the exact same information. Is it possible that that's a lie? It's not. If one person came in and said that there's been a fire somewhere, it's possible he made a mistake, he's lying, something's not right. But if it's mutawatir, so many different sources have said the same thing, then it's impossible for that thing to be a lie. So therefore, all the evidences and proofs that we have on the Dajjal, these hadith, they range up to 40 different hadith, and every single one of them is classified as mutawatir. Please make a note of that, because it's very important. Because there's people who will reject the coming of the Dajjal, and effectively, if you reject the coming of the Dajjal, you are rejecting hadith mutawatir. If you're rejecting hadith mutawatir, you are effectively rejecting what? The Sunnah. That's as clear as it is. Okay, I don't mean to upset anybody, but that is the reality. By doing that, you are rejecting the Sunnah. So here, we make a point that the belief of the Dajjal is actually a theological element of our faith, and we have to believe in his coming. Now, let's warm you guys up. So, the appearance of the Dajjal. So I know some of you will know his description, but let's have a look. So Imam Bukhari in his Sahih, he has some hadith which talk about the appearance of the Dajjal. So let me write it for you, or let me explain it to you. Number one, I'm just going to give you a summary, I'm not going to go into the details. Number one, he'll be a well-built man. So he's not going to be thin, and neither is he going to be overweight, he's going to be well-built. Number two, his complexion is said to be light-skinned and he'll be reddish. Okay, so he's going to be fair-skinned. Number three, another hadith that says he will have curly hair. Okay, he will have curly hair. In another hadith it makes mention that he's going to be one-eyed. Okay, now that doesn't mean he's going to have one eye right in the middle of his face. It means he'll have two eyes, and one of them, as the hadith states, it will be like a floating grape. So it's two eyes, but one of them doesn't work, one works, and the other one is bulging out like a grape. Okay, so he will have two eyes. Furthermore, if we look in other hadith books, we find the description that the Dajjal will be short. Also his toes, it said that his toes as well as his legs will be curling inside. So he'll have a deformity. His legs will be curling in. Okay, so he'll have an issue with his legs and his feet. They'll be curling inwards. Also, it will be written on his forehead. What will be on his forehead? Everyone knows this. Kafara. Okay, the three letters kafara, spelling out kufr, disbelief. And it said those who have faith and understanding of the Dajjal, that when they will see him, those letters will be apparent and clear. People will know who he is. But those who are weak in faith and weak in iman, they will not be able to distinguish between what's written on his forehead. So we'll have that also there. It's also said that the Dajjal will be aqim, meaning he won't be able to have children. Okay, so he doesn't have the ability to have children. Furthermore, he will be one-eyed, and what was said, the Prophet ﷺ, he told us that in a very famous hadith that your Lord is not one-eyed, meaning that the one who will claim to be your Lord, but he'll only have one eye, is the Dajjal. So it's a very famous hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, your Lord will not be one-eyed. What's interesting to note here is that what will the Dajjal claim? Initially when he comes, what will he claim? That he is the Masih. So his first claim will be that he is Jesus, he is Masih. And then as time goes by and his followers are getting bigger and bigger, what will he do next? He will claim he is A'udhu Billah, he will claim he is God, he will claim he is Allah. So he'll step it up. And just on the side point, that one of the minor signs of the Day of Judgment, the Prophet ﷺ said that there will be smaller Dajjals that will come before the coming of the big Dajjal. Because the word Dajjal, it comes from the root letter Dajjala. Dajjala means to, not just like kadhiba, to lie, but Dajjala means to mix truth with falsehood, to intentionally mix up truth and falsehood. So kadhib is a pure lie, but this is even worse. Okay, so the worst form of lying. So that's when it comes to Dajjal, the one who lies. Now the Prophet said one of the minor signs of the coming of the minor signs of the Day of Judgment is that there will be 30 smaller Dajjals that will come. And each of those Dajjals, they will claim that they are prophets of God. Some of them will exceed and they will claim they are God himself. But the majority of them, they will claim they are, that they're a prophet. Okay. Now, a few come to my mind. I want to make mention because it's important that we make mention of this. Hopefully don't get you into any trouble. But there are groups of people that we've seen in the last 100 or 200 years, the people who have claimed prophethood. So one of the most obvious ones in the subcontinent is like the Qadiani movement, okay, or the Ahmadiyya. So they claim that they have somebody by the name of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad who claimed prophethood, and he was a prophet. And then from that claim of prophethood, he advanced his claim, and he actually claimed he was Maryam alayhi salam, and he claimed he was God at one point. And nevertheless, that's not my discussion. But the point is that he was someone who claimed that he was a prophet of Allah, which we know is not true. Furthermore, if we look in the other side of the globe, when we look into America, United States, America, there was a man there who also claimed he was a prophet of God. Yeah, we know it was the Malcolm X. Everyone was reading about Malcolm X a few days ago. So what was that man's name? Elijah Muhammad. Okay, the one who was leading the movement of Nation of Islam. He also claimed to be a prophet. Okay, his name was Elijah something. I forgot it was. He purposely then changed his name to Elijah Muhammad, and then he said, whenever you say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, that Muhammadan Rasulullah is referring to who? Is referring to him. Okay, so just to let you know, there are people out there who claim to be prophets, and anybody who claims to be a prophet after the Prophet Muhammad is a Dajjal. He falls in that category. Okay. Some of the abilities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give the Dajjal, okay, Allah will allow for the Dajjal to do some things, even though we don't understand the wisdom behind it, but Allah will give him the ability to do some things. Number one, for those who are writing, I'll say it slowly, is the ability to travel rapidly throughout the earth. So we know that he'll be able to go from one side of the globe to the other side of the globe in seconds. He'll be able to travel very, very fast. And for those who watch the Netflix series, I saw a few of those episodes, and how you see scenes how at one moment in time he was in the Middle East, and then another moment in time he was in Canada, and then another moment in time he was somewhere else. So they understood that concept also very, very well. The fact that the Dajjal, according to Islamic scripture, is somebody who doesn't fit into the physics of the rest of us. So he was able to travel extremely fast. So he'll be given that ability. Another thing that the Dajjal will have, he will come with a paradise and he will come with a hell. And he'll be calling people to a paradise and he'll be warning people to go to this hell. But in reality, his paradise is really hell. And his hell that he's calling to is actually the paradise. So he will twist things around. Okay? So he will come with that. Furthermore, a third thing is that the Dajjal, when he comes, he will seek the aid of the shayateen. Okay, so we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created human beings, and what are human beings made out of? Clay. And he's created the angels, they're made out of nur, light, and then we have jinn, which are made out of fire. Good. So the Prophet ﷺ tells us that there will be a fitna where the Dajjal will come, and somebody will approach him and he will say to this person, do you believe in me that I am God? And the person will reject him. And then he will say, what if I bring your mum and dad out of their graves? Would you believe me? And then the person will say, if you do that, I will believe. So then at that moment, the Dajjal, he brings out his mum and dad out of the graves. The person sees them for a while and then they disappear. And this person, he believes in the Dajjal. But the reality of the matter here is that did he bring out that person's mum and dad from the graves? No, he didn't. What he did was he sought the aid of the shayateen. And the shayateen, they came because you know the shayateen, they can change shape, they can change their appearance, they can look in different ways. So they took the shape, what looked like the shape of that person's parents, and he was convinced. And because of that, people will start to follow it. So we also learn that the Dajjal, he will have contact with the jinn and he will communicate with them. What is it? What is that? We mentioned the word before. When you communicate, when a person communicates with the jinn, what is that thing called? What is he doing? Sihr. That's the exact definition of magic. So anybody who wants to know what is magic, that's what magic is in a nutshell. Magicians out there who do sihr, You know, the two people want to get married, and the girl comes along to a you know, what do you want to call them, a magician, and says, look, I want to marry this guy, but he's got no interest in me. He doesn't look at me. He doesn't care about me. You know, how is he gonna? You know, I want him to get married. So he will get a string and will jump up and down and say, look, go get his hair, and you know, then put it under the pillow, say this 100 times, and then he's gonna fall in love with you. But all he really does is sihr. He takes money, because that's what magicians want. They just want money. He will take money. He will communicate with the shayateen, the jinn, and then they will go out and they will encourage that person, or they will do things in his life that will draw his attention to that particular girl. That's what they've done. But by communicating with the jinn, he's done sihr, and sihr is none other than kufr. It is disbelief. And it's such a serious disbelief that the Prophet ﷺ said there is no tawbah for this person. He's got a VIP direct line to Jahannam. There's no return. So it's a crime that somebody doesn't even want to contemplate. Yeah. So issues of magic we should stay absolutely away from. So he will communicate with the jinn, and he will perform what looks like miracles. Furthermore, he would also have the abilities to communicate with inanimate objects and even animals at times. So he will command at one moment, he will look up to the clouds, and he will command the clouds to bring rain, and the rain will fall. Okay. Many of you may be asking, why is Allah allowing him to do all these things? Okay, that's up to Allah. The very same reason you can say, why is there shaitan in the first place? That's up to Allah. Why is there a hell? That's up to Allah. So some things we just accept them because they're above our understanding. We won't know the answers to some of these questions. So here Allah will allow him to do that. Furthermore, another thing that he will do, he will bring back a young boy. He will bring a young boy back to life. And if I'm correct in saying, in that same series, he did that. There was a series where there was a kid that died, and then I think he was shot, if I'm right. Basically in the actual series, a kid died, and then he brought him back to life. And that's exactly the Prophet ﷺ spoke about, but it's slightly different. The Prophet ﷺ said what would happen, there will be a person brought out in front of him. A boy will come to him and say, I do not believe in you, you are the Dajjal. He will take a person and he will cut this person in half. And then he will put the two halves back together and the person will become alive again. And then people around him, they will believe, but this one young boy, according to the hadith of Prophet ﷺ, he will refuse. He says, this has further proven to me that you are actually the Dajjal. So he will perform these tricks, and they're nothing but tricks, and people will fall for them. Okay, where will he come from? Anybody have any idea where he's going to come from? Afghanistan. Okay. No, he's right. There was no Afghanistan at that time, that's why I laughed. But it's right. Okay. He's right. That he will emerge from the east, okay, which is known as the land of the Persians, or what was known at that time was Khurasan. Okay, so the brother was right. Furthermore, the Prophet also said that the Dajjal will emerge from a land in the east called Khurasan, and his followers will be flat-faced. Okay, they'll be flat-faced. Now, Allah on what is meant by flat-faced. But in our history, for those who read history, when the Mongols invaded Baghdad, they absolutely massacred Baghdad, and they massacred all the Muslims in that area. And it said that the rivers turned red out of the amount of blood that there were. And though Tatars, they were the Mongols, they came from as far east China. Okay, so when they came and people saw their faces and saw the way they looked, many of the people at that time, they believed that, you know, these are from the progeny, or the Dajjal is going to look like these people. But Allah knows best. I can't say anything. But what the hadith does say is that he will have a flat face. Okay. At what moment will he be recognized as the Dajjal? When he will be in between Iraq or Syria, so in the area of Sham. That's when people will know that he is the Dajjal. The announcement will be made that the Dajjal has arrived. How long will he be on the earth for? Any ideas? 40 days. But at the same time, the Prophet also said at that time, one day will be like a week, or 1 week will be like a year. So it does say 40 days, but really that means 40 periods of time. How long that is, Allah knows best. Because the Prophet said a day will be like a year, and a year will be like this. So he mentioned that it's going to be a long period of time. So he will have spent up to 40 days roughly. Okay. Let's look at some of the signs of when the Dajjal is going to come. What is the environment going to be like in order for him to come? Now, it's interesting because when we study the Dajjal, and whenever I teach this subject, I always ask students or listeners to think don't isolate the topic of Dajjal to be purely a theological issue. You need to look at the issue of Dajjal and look at current events, because wallahi there is a connection. How valid is the connection? I leave you to make that assessment. But I believe there is a connection. So if you see how the Dajjal will come, the environment must be ready for him to come. Because if he comes and everybody is righteous and everybody is good and everybody is practicing and everybody understands Islam, when he comes it'll be so obvious who he is. There'll be no acceptance of him. But he will come when the environment is ready such that when he comes people will follow him. So he will change the environment, or his henchmen, the shayateen, they will change the environment such that people will fall for it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us in the Quran that the shaitan, when he was created, he said he's going to lead people astray. And he made 4 promises on how he's going to lead people astray. Okay? Make a note of this. He made mention, the first thing he's going to do, he said, وَلَا أُضِلَّنَّهُمْ, that I will lead them astray. So I'm giving you the 4 tricks of shaitan. He said, وَلَا أُضِلَّنَّهُمْ, I'm going to lead them astray, take them away from the straight path. وَلَا أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ وَلَا آمُرَنَّهُمْ, he said, I am going to, وَلَا أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ, the word amniya, that comes from hope, means that shaitan, he will give people, he will put inside of people lots of hope, meaning they will have lots of goals in life. They want to achieve this, they want to do this, they want so many different things. And while they're in pursuit of these things, that the shaitan will keep them busy and they will forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now that doesn't mean we shouldn't have goals, and it doesn't mean we shouldn't aspire to do great things. We should do that. But what he's saying here is that sometimes we become so obsessed in trying to achieve our goals, we forget Allah. We become so obsessed in trying to get the best results in our exams that we won't wake up for Fajr. We get so obsessed in trying to be the best at what it is that we forgot to read Quran. We're not fasting, or we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're not worshipping Allah Almighty the way we are, because we get obsessed in trying to achieve goals, trying to get as far as we can in life. So he says one of the things he will do, he will put lots of hope in people, and people will chase that hope. And while they're chasing hope, they will forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third thing he makes mention of, his third promise is, وَلَا يُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ, that there was a tradition that the Arabs used to do. They used to cut off the ear of a cow, and they used to allow for it to bleed, and then wherever it would fall, they would say there's some kind of good luck or some kind of charm in this particular area. It was something that the Arabs used to do. So it's linking back to things got to like good luck. So you think that in this, for example, this bracelet or this watch, there's good luck in it. If I tie a thread on my left thigh, I'll run faster. Or you start thinking, you start putting good luck charms in things. So this is also one of the tricks of shaitan, that there is no such thing as good luck. Is the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether you are this or that. The fourth thing which I want to make mention of, and this is really, subhanAllah, the most apparent thing. And these are the promises of shaitan, that he'll create an environment where these things are widespread, and the Dajjal, when he comes, it'll be easy for him to mislead people. What's the fourth promise? He says, وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَا يُغَيِّرَنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. He said, I will order them, and I will change the khalq of Allah. I will change the creation of Allah. And subhanAllah, it don't hit you how deep that is, but what does it mean? The tabi'ah, the natural way of living, he will change it. Everything will go upside down. So if we look at it from one perspective, this is my own analysis now. If you look at it from one perspective, look at our food. Yeah? Look at our food. Like, when in our history did you ever have tomatoes the size of watermelons? Like, when you go buy tomatoes, they're this big. You go buy fruits and vegetables, they're huge, they look amazing, and they don't have much taste. That this is not natural. How did they get to be this big, or how did you manage to produce this many fruits and vegetables? Why? Because they've injected them with things that have changed their nature. For example, the amount of eggs that chicken produced, or how much milk we get out of cows. It's not natural. These things, the nature of these animals or plants has been changed chemically. So this is one of the things that he will change. But let's put animals and let's put plants aside. So I'm going to be a bit more explicit. In this day and age, the biggest thing that I have found, where it talks about the change of the khalq of Allah, the creation of Allah, is, in my opinion, the following. When you're walking down the road and you see someone and you don't know whether to lower your gaze or whether to shake his hand. You don't know whether the person in front of you is a man or a woman. Wallahi. So you don't know, or a person could be born as a man and then, he decides later on that I'm a bit uncomfortable with this figure, and he becomes a woman. So is not this, you can agree or disagree, is this not changing the khalq of Allah? Allah created you as a woman, and then you became a man, and you're confusing the world, you're confusing me. Then what about the other, you created a man, and then you became a woman. Now, of course, we have to add, the caveat that we don't show any aggression, or we don't harm anybody who has chosen that way of life. That's entirely up to them, and they can live in that way. But as an Islamic speaker, I have to speak the truth, and that is that this is not acceptable in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're changing the khalq of Allah. Allah created in a particular way, and you change it. And this is one of the weapons that Shaitan, he said, he will change the very fabric or the nature of people. And when that changes, when the Dajjal comes, you've got no resistance. It will be easy for him to come and take you. You don't even know who you're talking to, let alone who the Dajjal is. So anyway, I just wanted to give you the backdrop to how and what the Shaitan, the environment that the Shaitan will create in order for him to come. Right. So, are we ready to continue? Okay? Alright, good. No one's upset, yeah? Good. Because we're going to get more upset in a minute. Then Brother Musa's going to be regret. Why did I tell you that? But those who know me, I don't like to go and give talks and repeat the same information you've heard 100 times. You could get it off of YouTube. You can go get it from the places. So you've invited me, so I'm going to give you a little twist on how things are. And I'm speaking the reality. This is what's there on the ground. Anyway, who are the followers of the Dajjal? The Prophet ﷺ, he said that most of the followers of the Dajjal will be two groups of people. Who are they? Number one will be the Jews, Bani Israel. Okay, so I'll be referring to them as Bani Israel. And the second, the Prophet ﷺ said this, I didn't say this, so don't get angry with me. So who are they? Women. I didn't say that. Okay? You can put your questions at the end. So, the Prophet ﷺ said that the two groups of people, alright, the two groups of people that will follow, the biggest followers of the Dajjal will be, number one will be Bani Israel, and number two, there will be the women. Okay? What's interesting as well, students, is that the three main Abrahamic faiths, as they call them, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, all three of them have some understanding of the coming of the Dajjal. And it's important for us to understand that. Number one, the Christians, they also believe, a very similar belief to the Muslims, about the coming of Jesus, and that Jesus is going to fight the Dajjal, and that Jesus is going to defeat the Dajjal. But this is not the belief of all Christians, this is the belief of the evangelical Christians. Okay? They have the similar belief to us. And they also are awaiting Jesus, and they also understand that Jesus is going to come when there's going to be a great battle that's going to take place. Just like Muslims, we believe there will be a battle that will take place between the Muslims and the Christians, and then as this battle will end, that's when the appearance of the Dajjal will come. And they have the same belief, the evangelical, or you can call them the Orthodox Christians, they have the same belief. Okay? The only one real difference between us and the Christians, so whenever I say Christians now, understand that to be the evangelical Christians, is that they believe that the Dajjal is going to come when there is one particular thing in place, and that is the fact that Bani Israel, the Yehud, the Jews, they will be living all in Israel. Okay? They say that until the Jews don't live and occupy Israel fully, okay, and they have take from one location to another, until he's not, this is in the Bible, until they don't live there, then the Messiah is not going to come. So part of their belief, okay, is the fact that Jews or Bani Israel, they have to go live there. Okay. Hence, if you look today, some of the most strongest Zionists are who? Are some of the Christians. Yeah, some of the Christian evangelical Christians. They're probably more Zionists than some of the Jews. So here, we understand that this is based in the Bible. This is based in their belief that their Jesus or their Messiah is not going to come until this particular area has these people living there. Okay. By the way, this is all in the books. I'm not making any of this up. So it's in their texts. But what you do find shocking is the fact that they do believe in the fact that the Messiah or the Dajjal is going to come once the Jews or the Bani Israel, they're all occupying Israel. But what's interesting, as Muslims, subhanAllah, we venerate and we say positive things about Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, whose they claim is God or Son of God. We have never ever said anything negative about him. Yet the very people who the evangelical Christians are protecting and promoting and transporting from one place to another and giving them all the luxuries of the world, they're the very people who said that Jesus, a'udhu billah, is the son of a unjust woman or unrighteous woman. That they say that Maryam, a'udhu billah, that she committed adultery and he is a product of the adultery. That's what they say. But yet we as Muslims, subhanAllah, who throughout our history we supported Christians and we loved and we do love Jesus, yet we're on the receiving end of all of the modern day oppression. Okay? Right, anyway, let's move on. So the second group of people are the Yahuds. From the three Abrahamic faiths are the Yahud, the Jews. What are their beliefs? Okay, now the Prophet ﷺ said that the majority of the followers of the Dajjal are going to be the Jews. Why? Because they are also waiting their Messiah. They don't say Messiah, but in Hebrew they call it the Mashiach. Okay, they say Mashiach, which means Messiah. So they're also waiting for someone to come, and they believe that he is going to be a king. So these are some of the differences. They believe he's going to be a king, and he's going to be from the lineage of Dawood or David. Okay, and he's going to lead them, and he's going to establish a kingdom. And they also believe in the very same thing, that it will be the land of Israel, okay, where you have the temple of Suleiman and the temple of David. Okay, so that's their belief. Okay. Now, when you look at things, when you look at the topic of Dajjal with these things in mind, okay, and how these three faiths look at the Dajjal, and you look at current events, doesn't it make more sense to you than just reading a book on Dajjal and reading, a few things about him? But when you look at it from that perspective, you can see what's taking place around the world. You can see how things are not just random, how things are actually motivated through theology and through religion. And what's very interesting and saddening at the same time is that the Jews as well as the Christians, irrespective of what they believe is right or wrong, but what they believe in, they live by it. That's what they live by, and that's what they're trying to attain in their lives. We as Muslims, who know we are upon the truth, we know we have the haqq, we know we have the book of Allah in front of us, we know what is going to happen, but how many of us actually take religion that seriously? How many of us actually, go that one step further and try to establish our Islam and really try to make our Islam the most important part of our lives? Islam is for most of us, it's just a side thing, isn't it? So we can see even though Allah has given us the haqq, we haven't really fulfilled that responsibility. Okay, now, I don't know how much time I've got left. Okay, so let's conclude. How can we save ourselves from the fitna of the Dajjal? Okay, so a few things. So if you're making note, number one, okay, how can we protect ourselves from this fitna, this great fitna? Number one is to stay away from anything that brings about doubt in your faith. What's the solution to doubt? Knowledge. Good. Yeah? The solution to doubt is knowledge, which means every single one of us, including myself, we should always be learning. Always be learning our Islam, be it once a week, be it once a month, whatever it is that you do. I mean, mashallah, you guys are here, one of the best universities in the UK, clearly some of the most intelligent people in the country. So telling you to go to learn Islam once a week is almost an insult, So you should be learning Islam on a daily basis, reading at least a couple of pages from any book that you like on a daily basis. If you can go through some of those boring, medical books that are this big, that I use for opening and closing doors, but if you can go through those, and prepare for exams, I'm sure you can use, read the Quran, subhanAllah. It's shocking. You read those manuals, medical books that are this big, and you understand them back to front, highlighted, pink, yellow, and blue with side notes and all sorts, and then you sit with your friend and see what you've missed. How many of us have gone through this book from beginning to end with a highlighter? I'm sure not a single person is with a highlighter. How many made notes? How many people have come across a word that they don't know what it means and have gone out and tried to find what it means? It's embarrassing, isn't it? That's our faith, and we zero importance to what it is, but everything else in the world gets precedence. Anyway, so that's up to you how you want to excel in your faith. Number one, so I said stay away from anything that brings about doubt, and the cure to that is knowledge. So always be learning your Islam. Number two is if the Dajjal was to ever appear in our lifetimes, which inshallah it won't, the Prophet ﷺ said that if he was to turn up in our lifetime that even he would run away or move away from the Dajjal because his fitna is too much. So moving away, if he was to appear, to flee and run away from him rather than go meet him. Okay, so nowadays it's a trend. If there's a hurricane somewhere, what do most people do? Grab a camera and go chase the hurricane. Let me get a good picture for Instagram. It's a hurricane. Okay, it might grab you. So in the same case, if you know there's a fitna somewhere or there's trouble somewhere, don't go running into the fitna to take a picture. Move away from the fitna. So the same thing with the Dajjal. Anything that brings about doubt, stay away from it. Furthermore, the Prophet told us there's a particular part of the Quran that if we read it, it will protect us from the Dajjal. Who knows what it is? Surah Al-Kahf. But in particular, the first 10 ayat of Surah Al-Kahf and the last 10 ayat of Surah Al-Kahf. So please read them regularly, and if you have to, I'm sure everybody here does have the ability to memorize them, do memorize them as well. Okay. Furthermore, another bit of advice I would give, very similar to the one I've just made mention, is that we've got to come back to our religion. Okay, we've got to start taking our deen more seriously. You've seen, the recent events that have taken place around the world. I mean, it's got not much to do with the Dajjal, but nevertheless, you've seen recent events taking place around the world. A year or so ago, the shooting in New Zealand. The guy with the gun walked in and just blasted everyone. You've seen that. That was how scary that was. And we thought that that was finished. That was over. In New Zealand. But only a few days ago, what did we find? Regent's Park Mosque. Someone walks in with a knife, goes right up to the Imam, and the Imam is just inches away from being killed, and somebody steps in the way. This is down the road. It's down the road. You guys got to understand how serious it is. And why was he trying to attack the Imam? Because he was Pakistani? No. He was Bengali? No. Why was he trying to attack the Imam? Because he was Muslim. That's it, simple. Yeah? So, because he's Muslim, and all of you are Muslim, you can clearly tell by your dress or by your appearance that you're Muslim. So, you need to start taking your religion seriously and understand who you are and where you're going. Okay. Yeah, and the final thing I will just conclude with is the fact that it's very, very important, and I think the brothers here spoke to the brothers of the ISOC here, it's very important that, as the ISOC, you set up some kind of regular Islamic circles. So these weekly events that you have, like the Islamic Awareness Week, is it? Or Islamic, what's it called now? We used to call it Islamic Awareness Week. What do you call it? Islamic what?
Discover Islamic.
Discover Islam Week, okay, something. So something week, whatever it is, but these are good, alhamdulillah. So now most of you listening are probably, motivated hopefully, but what you need to do is have something more regular as well. Okay, so start maybe tafsir of the Quran, or start fiqh, or start something which is regular. Okay, because one-off events, they just give you a boost. But how long does the boost last? Maybe up until the train station, then it's gone. So boosts are not that, they don't have a long-term effect. What you need to have is constant weekly study. Yeah. So if you, somebody starts teaching a particular book, stories of the prophets, or whatever it is you choose, and it's done on a weekly basis, that way you build up your knowledge gradually. Okay. So inshallah ta'ala, I think I've taken my 45 minutes or more. I'm going to stop there. There's plenty more we can say, but I don't want you to fall asleep on me. So we'll stop there. And if you have questions, feel free to ask any questions you like on the subject, off the subject. You can just pose your question, inshallah. Go ahead. Yeah, go on. So this is asking that the story I made mention of the boy, someone being cut in half and then brought back. No, that will not be the Mahdi. That will be just a random person. So there'll be a boy who will clearly confront the Dajjal and say, I don't believe. So the Dajjal brings somebody in front of him, cut him in half, and it said they will actually walk through him and walk back just to prove that he's cut. And then he'll bring them together and bring them back to life. And people watching will believe, okay? But the boy won't. The death of the Mahdi, we don't know how he dies. There are a lot of things in the Sunnah that are not fully explained. Why? Because it's not important. If it was important, the Prophet would have told us. But the Mahdi will come and he will remain alive until the coming of Jesus. And Isa will come where? Where will he descend? In Sham, in Damascus. A white minaret in Damascus. And if those who watch that series, they went to that minaret in Damascus and they showed the coming of someone at that particular place. How scary is that, subhanAllah? They studied the hadith very well to produce that program. So he will come, Isa will come at that minaret, and it said he will descend on the wings of two angels. People will see this. He will descend on the wings of two angels and he will come at a place of Damascus, And this will happen when there is lots of bloodshed and war taking place in this area known as Sham. Now we call it Syria, Lebanon, all these are modern states. So those names are not important to us. What we know, Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, all of this is known as Sham. Okay, this whole area is Sham. Okay, so the Prophet said, well, this area will be turned into, there'll be lots of war, lots of catastrophes in this area. That's when Isa will come, because that's when he will fix the affairs. And I ask you a question: if you look in this area today, who is there? Peace there or bloodshed? It's bloodshed. Yeah. So if you look at the world, I'm not saying this is the case, but if you look at the world, it is very much in line with what the Prophet was speaking about. So the sister at the back first, then I'll come to each other. Okay, I knew that question was coming. I prepared for it before I came. So the two people will be Jews and women. So I don't think we need to elaborate on why the Jews will be the followers, because they're also waiting for someone to come, and they believe that when the Dajjal will come, they will believe that that's their Messiah. They saved one, and we know that's our Dajjal. Very interesting, huh? Well, both groups of people are waiting for the same person, but from different perspectives. Yeah? Okay. Why women? Because at that time, there'll be a lot of war, there'll be a lot of instability, there'll be lots of problems, and the Dajjal will promise the people what? Safety, security, peace. And it's said, the scholars say that the reason why mostly women will follow him is because they're looking for safety, security, and stability. So because that's the nature of women, that they will incline towards following the Dajjal. And they'll believe him because they want to feel safe. That's really the primary reason to why they say that it'll be mostly women that follow him. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to ask this question. So Messiah Dajjal, will he be born and grow up and then have these specific powers that Allah has given him, or will he just come in Afghanistan?
Okay, so the question is, let's not turn that into a joke because we might offend someone, right? So, Khurasan, let's use the word Khurasan. So the brother is asking, will he be, born and live a normal life, or is he just going to appear? This is a good question. We don't really know. Why? Because there's one narration that tells us about a group of people that set sail during the time of the Prophet. They got lost and they got to an island. And when they got to the island, they saw a beast that was tied up. And when they approached that beast, the beast told them himself that I am the Dajjal. Yeah? He informed them of the Dajjal. When they came back to the Prophet, they narrated what he said, and the Prophet said, that's the Dajjal. Okay? So some people say that he's alive today, tied up somewhere. We don't know where he is. Other narrations say that no, that was not referring to the Dajjal. Another one of the major signs of the Day of Judgment is there will be a beast that will come. And the beast is not the Dajjal. The beast is just another creation, and he will just be, he won't be like the Dajjal, but he'll have his own role to play. So they say that will be the beast, that's that beast. But some people say no, it will be the Dajjal, while others have said that no, the Dajjal will be born, okay, will be raised, and it will not know that he's the Dajjal until this particular instant takes place, that when he's grown up and that war takes place and it will be announced, that's when they will know. So he'll be born and live. And the proof of that is during the lifetime of the Prophet ﷺ, there was a person by the name of, what was his name you just mentioned? Tamim ad-Dari, yeah? And this particular person, he was known to be a sahir, he was known to be involved in magic and all those kind of things. So he had some abnormal behaviors, and cutting a long story short, he used to have some abnormal behaviors, and people thought that he was actually the Dajjal because he fit the description very well. And it wasn't a small claim that people as big as Umar, Ibn Umar, Aisha, they actually thought that was the real Dajjal. But then the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned that he wasn't, that he is the Dajjal. Saf bin Sayyaf? Okay, so Abdullah bin Sayyaf. Yeah, he was alive at that time, and they thought that he was the Dajjal. So he was born and raised, and then they thought he was the Dajjal. So how he is exactly going to appear, we don't know. Yeah? Yes, brother.
How do you know who the Mahdi is?
How do we know who the Mahdi is? There are signs that tell us about the Mahdi. From amongst those signs of his lineage. Okay, so his name will be the exact same name as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and the lineage will go right back to the Quraysh. So there will be certain lineage and there will be certain claims and there will be certain events that take place, there will be certain wars that will take place which have been mentioned about. And the Mahdi will also be clearly known at the time of the Dajjal. When the Dajjal will arrive, he will gather people and he will make his claim that he is the Mahdi and people will understand that he is the Mahdi. He will be understood from his personality and his name.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, you know that the Dajjal's going to come with all these powers and stuff. So is he going to be accountable on the Day of Judgment, or is he just sent as a test for mankind?
All of these things, the Dajjal, is he going to be accountable? No, Dajjal is very similar to like Shaitan. Is Shaitan going to have an accountability? No. وَخَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا. He's in the fire forever. Likewise, Dajjal is also in the fire forever. So he has no accountability because he is the Dajjal. Okay, like Shaitan, there's no accountability. Okay, he's mal'un, he was cursed. You say, A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim. May Allah, we seek protection from Shaitan ar-Rajim. Rajim is the one that is thrown away. So where is he thrown into? The fire. Okay, so it's clear. Yeah. You'll be silent. I don't know. I don't know how. He will know he is. I don't know how he will know. I don't know. But he will know he is. So any more sisters got questions? We've taken a few from the brothers. Okay. Go ahead.
Who's going to announce the Dajjal's coming?
Who's going to announce it?
Yeah, you said they would announce it.
So who's going to announce that the Dajjal has come? It will be said amongst the people. Okay, so there's not a specific person, but when the battle will take place between the Muslims and the Christians, and the battle will start to die down, then the announcement and the call will be made, and it will be coming from Iraq. There will be a call coming from that direction that he has arrived. And also, when you say he has arrived, what does that tell you? The very statement that he has arrived shows you what? That people know about him. His coming is known. So if you said like, John has come, that's different. But if you said he has arrived, it means you know who is coming. So his coming, people know about it. Okay? So it'll be said, it'll be a rumor that will spread. Go on, sister. So it's just asking about the beast. The beast that will come, it said that he will also come just as a trial. He is more of a sign than a fitna. Like the beast is not like the Dajjal, where the Dajjal will make good look bad and make bad look evil. He will twist the nature of things around. But the beast himself, it said that he's not really going to be a fitna in the sense that he's going to cause people problems. He will just be a sign. It's like saying, not as apparent as this, but keep walking. If you ask me where is this place, where is Nando's, for example, I say keep walking straight and take a left. Yeah, take a left. Yeah, and that's where it is. So the sign I give you of left, that's taking left. So likewise, when the beast will come, it's just a sign to show you that the end is coming close. Last, you're going to stay up. What will the Mahdi do on the Day of Judgment? Meaning, in general. Okay, good. So the Mahdi, his role, coming from Hidayah, Mahdi will be the one that guides people. Okay, there will come a time where there will be lots of confusion, lots of bloodshed, lots of problems around the world, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send the Mahdi. And the purpose of the Mahdi to gather the people together. To gather the people together, and they have a representation, which is the Mahdi, and hopefully he is going to fix our affairs. That's the purpose of the Mahdi. Allah, God, is that a question? Oh no, you just scratched your head at the wrong time. Okay, should we finish there, Musa? Okay. All right. Thank you everyone for coming. Barakallahu feekum. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the rest of your week very, very successful, and hope that it was a beneficial talk. Anything that was correct is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything incorrect is from me or from shaitan. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.